Today, in How I Got Here, I'm talking to Suzanne Wisse, one of Europe's most inspiring impact leaders. From founding her own consultancy on alternative finance to the CEO's position of the fastest growing network of impact-driven organizations, she lived and worked in Africa, Asia, the United States, and she came back to the Netherlands. I'm very excited to talk to her.
We are living in an increasingly volatile, complex, and interconnected society. We are facing a climate emergency. Global health threats are on the rise, not only affecting our health, but also our lifestyle, privacy, and freedom. Income inequality is increasing, and human beings are forced to leave their homes and communities and migrate to a safer place. We're facing some of the greatest challenges in history. At the same time, we are increasingly becoming aware of our surroundings, our relationships with each other, our impact on society and our ecosystem. Together with our community of impact-driven organizations and social entrepreneurs, we are working together on solutions that are inclusive, innovative, and help build a resilient society. These are businesses that prioritize social and environmental impact over profits, building an economy that works for people and the planet. We are the leaders and organizations that create positive impact and help accelerate achieving the SDGs.
Suzanne, thank you for coming here and doing this with us. I know we are all in the times of lockdown, not enjoying all parts of this. What do you normally get your energy from?
Where I get my energy from is, I think my drive has always been to work with entrepreneurs that have innovative, brilliant ideas to tackle global challenges. So for me, an impact entrepreneur is a person that creates a solution to a problem that can be social, environmental, economic. They use their business as a vehicle to create positive change and really make a stand. So for instance, in the Netherlands you have Anne, who created Paper on the Rock. She's making books out of rocks and creating that great solution for a problem we have with cutting trees, of course. Then we're in a car museum, so we have Green Wheels, for example. They created a solution for too many cars on the roads and car sharing initiative. And what I love, where I get my energy from, is speaking to people that are inspired by these solutions. I'm super lucky. I think I have the best job in the world because I get to talk to people who are very much driven. They're really ambitious. They have a purpose, and they're very keen to share that purpose with the rest of the world.
Right, yeah. And you are Dutch. You were born and raised in the Netherlands, but you've lived and worked abroad a lot.
Yes.
What was your first country that you went for work? Abroad, I mean.
Yeah, so the first country I went to for work, well, it wasn't exactly work, it was Spain. And I worked in a bar. But work-wise, I think my first experience was certainly Italy, where I was studying and working. And then Nigeria, where I got to work as first as the CEO of a crowdfunding platform, and then as an impact investing consultant with many different social entrepreneurs.
Yes, I wanted to ask you more about that period of your life, living in Nigeria and working there, not coming there as a tourist, but really living your normal life. That must have been a life-changing experience for you. How was this for you?
Yeah, so certainly Lagos is perceived as the most dangerous city in the world. What many people don't know is that it's almost the most entrepreneurial city in the world.
Right.
So I went there because working in Amsterdam, I started out in crowdfunding for good. Also worked on a European level with the European Crowdfunding Network. And I was really keen to actually visit the countries where our projects, initiatives were running. And I also felt that working with NGOs who were trying to solve certain challenges, to me wasn't as effective as social entrepreneurs creating a business model around tackling these problems. So we moved to Nigeria with the family, certainly an emerging market, and not the easiest country to live in, but I really, really loved it. In Nigeria, you really need to learn how to create a plan A, B to Z. I think Nigeria taught me to be resilient and to work with a very disruptive landscape. So for instance, when in our office in Nigeria, we had a lack of fuel because of the elections and because of strikes. No fuel in Nigeria is something else than no fuel in the Netherlands. So in Nigeria, it meant that people couldn't come to work with the car or by bus. But also, it meant that in the office, the generator wasn't working. So there would be no electricity, there would be no air conditioning, no lights, no way to charge a computer or laptop. And then you might say, why don't you work from home? But that means people in their houses also don't have the ability to work from their phones, from their laptops. So this really created a lot of challenges, but really taught me that, you can be creative and find ways, be resilient. The other thing it taught me is that entrepreneurial means a lot of things, and it means something else than what entrepreneurs are doing here when you live in Lagos. Entrepreneurs in Lagos are super creative. They are, again, as mentioned, resilient. They find many solutions for different problems. And most of all, they're stubbornly positive. And that's something that I really admired. And that's something that I also recognize in social entrepreneurs. They have these brilliant ideas, but their optimism about reaching this impact, scaling up, that's what really triggers me.
So they keep on going no matter what, and the challenges come up every day, something new happens, but they still keep going.
Yeah, and they adapt to it.
Right. And how long did you live there?
I lived there for 2 years, and I really wanted to stay longer, but I had a wonderful time there. Yeah, I had a great time. And as Africa is just in my heart. Yes. So I'd love to return one day.
How was it for your family? Did you have kids there when you moved there?
Yeah, so we moved there with my two oldest were about 4 and 1. And they also really enjoyed the life there. We got to travel a lot, see a lot. They were exposed to different cultures. I think also a very important lesson to teach them that people in all corners of the world, they are longing for the same things. They're longing for, to build a home, to follow their dreams. And I think that really helped us as a family as well to create really nice years.
And then you came back to the Netherlands.
Then we moved to London, where my youngest was born. And again, I worked with impact investors and met many great entrepreneurs. London has a very booming social enterprise market, so to say. And we enjoyed that time, and then we moved back to the Netherlands indeed. Yeah.
And so you've always been drawn to work in some areas where you can make impact or where entrepreneurs can make impact. Where do you see this is coming from? Why is this so important for you?
I think I wanted to work in a positive impact-related environment since I was, I think, in high school. I thought I needed to learn much more about how the corporate world worked. I studied business, finance. I started out at Ahold in a management traineeship. And I loved it, but I really missed that sense of purpose. And then I figured out that, why don't I start? When I was 25, why don't I start today with working in a purposeful environment? And that's what I think what actually social enterprise is that you combine kind of the efficiency of a business with the impact that you want to create. So for me, it's indeed a perfect fit. And also, what I really enjoy about the work I'm doing today is that indeed, it's very international. We work in a field that is focused towards global challenges, also local challenges, and we work with people that just realize their dreams as such.
And so, having lived in so many different countries abroad, you came back to the Netherlands. Of course, it's your home country. But why would you say that in the Netherlands, and specifically at The Hague, would you say that this is an attractive place for entrepreneurs and specifically for social entrepreneurs?
Yeah, in general, the Netherlands is an amazing place for entrepreneurs. I think they have the freedom to build their businesses. They have a lot of help. So it's a really very good climate for an entrepreneur to be in the Netherlands. Then looking at social entrepreneurs, it's a good place to be for social entrepreneurs. I think if you look at the UK and the US, the environment is even better set. The ecosystem is better set. I think the private sector.
Is it bigger? Is it more developed? Or why is it better set?
Yeah, it's more matured. Yeah, so I think in the UK and US, private sector is already used to entrepreneurs stepping into the gap that the government is creating in sense of healthcare or social security, and in the Netherlands less so. Here in The Hague, I think social entrepreneurs are recognized. They're very much looking at tech, innovative companies. Impact City is one of the reasons that, in fact, EN has come to the Netherlands, has come to The Hague. They're building an ecosystem of impact investors, of research centers, of impact entrepreneurs, to make sure that they are thriving in this ecosystem. I think no social enterprise operates in a vacuum. So we really need all those stakeholders in place to make sure that they can really scale their impacts and grow their business and flourish.
Great, and you believe that this ecosystem will grow and will mature, and we are moving in the right direction?
We are moving in the right direction. We have great players like Social Enterprise NL, who are really recognizing the status of the social enterprise. I think the term is becoming well known here. If it's social enterprise, it has many names: impact entrepreneur, social business. So people are recognizing that yes, a business can create social change, can create environmental change, and can create solutions for climate crisis, etc.
Yeah. So social entrepreneurs, what does it actually mean?
A social entrepreneur is a person that uses a business as a vehicle to create a positive impact in the world. So that means that they are tackling challenges on a global level or a local level, to social and environmental and economic well-being. So, for example, if you look at, we're in the Museum of Cars here, the Lauwman Museum. Green Wheels is a really great example of a social enterprise here in the Netherlands that has created that opportunity for car sharing. But a social entrepreneur can do many more things. And in Europe, for instance, a social entrepreneur's the meaning is different in the UK than it is, for example, in Central Eastern Europe. But what we perceive to be a social entrepreneur is indeed a person that creates impact with his organization, seeking more impact than profit. And if it is profited from the business, then it will use that profit to scale the business even further.
Okay. And so 2.5 years ago, you became the CEO of Euclid Network. My first question is, what does it mean for you, that step? And what does Euclid Network do?
So the step for me to become the CEO of Euclid Network means that I have the opportunity to combine everything that I've learned in the past decade in work life and private life, to mix that in my role as CEO. So I think as a network, we have the opportunity to speak to social entrepreneurs at first, of course, but then also the impact investors. We talk to public officials, but we also seek partnerships with, for example, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations Task Force, where we are a member of. So we have the opportunity to speak to many different partners and make sure that they connect. We are the linking node between those partners. So for me, that means that I can really fulfill my mission to be a connector and create some synergy amongst these partners. What we really need is a common agenda for social entrepreneurship. And I think that we are creating this by expanding our bubble. At the moment, there's a small group who knows what social entrepreneurship is, who knows what they need to scale. And I think now the time has come really to broaden that bubble and make sure that we address the right persons to take action.
Euclid Network is promoting knowledge and provides trainings for social entrepreneurs. Can you tell me a little bit more about a Middle East training and maybe a little bit more about EU funding programs?
Yeah, so firstly, I think as mentioned, no social enterprise operates in a vacuum. That's why it's important that there's a market for the social entrepreneur. There's funding in terms of investments and sometimes grants for the social entrepreneur. The regulations are fitting. So again, you need all these stakeholders to be present. In the project MedUp with our partners, we are looking at the Middle East and Northern Africa to see per country what the ecosystem looks like. So we're doing a mapping of the ecosystem, seeing what the top social entrepreneurs are, what support they need in terms of capacity building, access to funding. And then lastly, in the project, we create peer exchanges. So that means that somebody from Jordan is doing a peer exchange with somebody from Germany, for instance. Mm-hmm. And they're teaching each other about what they need to help social entrepreneurs in that country.
So how do these people, social entrepreneurs, how do they find out about all these opportunities that you're offering, all about these tailor-made solutions and frameworks that are available for them, especially if they are in the developing countries? How do they find out about all of this?
Yeah, so being a social entrepreneur can be quite lonely. You have this great idea, you see a challenge and you're thinking about a solution for it. And all this time, if you succeed, you're the local hero. And if you fail, you're the local fool, so to say. Mm. So they all have this dream, but it's great if you then can talk to peers, other social entrepreneurs, to see what their challenges were and how they solved them. On the other hand, it's really good to have these incubators, for instance, local incubators, but also just workplaces where these entrepreneurs can go to exchange ideas and work on a daily basis, and national social enterprise networks. Almost every country in Europe has a national social enterprise network who is supporting and representing these entrepreneurs. So if these entrepreneurs know where to find these places and speak to their peers about it, they will know indeed what the opportunities are for them and can follow these incubators or programs or trainings to learn more about that. Of course, there are many websites. We have our own EU funding toolkit that can also apply to them. But it's all about network and it's all about collaboration and sharing knowledge.
Yeah. Can you give an example of EU social entrepreneurs that Euclid Network helped to make impact?
Yeah, for instance, we had in the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs, we had a very ambitious lady from London who was teaming up with one of the entrepreneurs in the UK, and they created a really cool clothing line that is sustainable, and they're just in their validation phase. But this is an example of an entrepreneur that meets another entrepreneur and gets very good at collaboration together, good at recognizing each other's expertise, and in that way can grow onwards.
Nice, indeed. And indeed, it is a lot about collaboration and working together. And like you said, you are the connector, and your role in that organization as well is connect many stakeholders. And do you see that the governments recognize impact entrepreneurs' role more and more these days? And if yes, then how do you see this?
Well, look, it is getting better. So if you look at Europe, the market is really fragmented, so it's very scattered. It's like a box of Lego with many different colors and shapes scattered all over the floor, because social entrepreneurship in one country isn't the same as social entrepreneurship in another. In the UK, it's a much recognized way of doing business. In the Netherlands, you still need to be a for-profit or an NGO. Things are changing a little bit now, and the government is recognizing that they can indeed be labeled as a different type of social enterprise. But what we saw during COVID-19 and the crisis in the past year is that social entrepreneurs are falling through the cracks, because there's different support systems for NGOs and different support systems for for-profits. The social entrepreneurs are really at the forefront of helping the most vulnerable, often stepping in to make sure that these groups, minority groups, are taken care of. For instance, here in The Hague, we have Opinion, who's working with a really great app technology that makes sure that migrants in different types of camps can really communicate directly to address their needs. Also, in the past years, we have learned that indeed social entrepreneurs take care of homeless, of migrants in their local surroundings. But what governments don't see is who exactly are these social entrepreneurs and how can they label them, because they often don't have an official status. What we do see that the European Commission is urging the member states on a national level to make a policy for social enterprise. What's happening in France, in Finland, for instance. And what is really hopeful to me is that you see that cities are being very innovative in this space. They move much faster than national governments, quietly embracing these impact entrepreneurs, like Impact City, for instance, really creating a region where social enterprises can thrive and where there's room for social innovation. And I really want to stress that this is really extraordinary. So in Europe, there are only a few examples of cities that take such a proactive role in this.
And what are those cities?
I think when you look at Paris, for instance, Paris have been very proactive on the forefront of looking at impact entrepreneurs, organizing a national summit every year. The mayor of Paris has been very active in this approach. Other cities are, for example, Stockholm is quite proactive in this. Berlin, Porto, but I think indeed The Hague is quite special in that sense.
Do you see that The Hague will take the lead in this as well anytime soon?
Most definitely. I think they already are doing that. I think they're reaching out on an international level. They're very much willing to share their best practices. We did, the other day, we did a mapping of The Hague with some of the most leading innovative thinkers in The Hague to look at the ecosystem and see what can be improved. And I think Impact City is very much willing to share that with their peers.
And from that conversation which you just had recently, can you share any insights? What could be improved? Because, of course, there are always things to improve. What are the things that came across to you that you thought, oh, this is indeed something we still need to work on in The Hague?
Yeah, so indeed, I think innovation comes with having a hard look in the mirror. And I think we all need to step up. So all of these stakeholders around impact entrepreneurs need to step up their game, because we still don't have enough funding going into the right enterprises. We have many different stakeholders in the Hague area, but they can be talking to each other a lot more. So we have all these great impact investors, or these impact investor funds. And to bridge the gap, we need to have better collaboration. And I think that last year showed us that the crisis has really become an accelerator for that, because you say when things are under pressure, they become fluid. Well, this is certainly the case for these collaborations and partnerships. I think the ego has been taken out of it, and all partners realize that the urgency of working together.
So when you talk about Euclid Network, I hear that it's very well connected in Europe, but does the Euclid Network also have connections outside Europe?
Yeah, so in the past 2.5 years, we've been very strategic about who we connect with on a global level. The reason why we connect with global players is because while we're still very much focused on the European and neighboring countries, because there's a lot to be done still in Europe to make sure that social enterprises flourish. We see that we can learn a lot from our peers in Africa, in South America, in the US, Asia, and we really want to make sure that the members in our impact network benefit from them. So research centers that are in our network in Europe can benefit from how impact measurement is dealt with in the US, for instance. Or a national social enterprise network can really benefit from how South Africa is handling certain things. So if you look at these global partners, we've identified, I think, a couple of really important partnerships. The first one is with the United Nations Task Force for Social and Solidarity Economy, where we can represent our members in Europe on a more global level. Then on a more practical level, since last year we are in the World Economic Forum COVID Response Alliance for Social Enterprise. And this is a really interesting alliance because this brings together impact investors like the IKEA Social Enterprise Foundation, SAP, EVPA, who are also quite active, of course, in Europe. But all of these global players, also our peers like Impact Hub, Ashoka, Acumen, we're all there, we're all in work groups. We are focusing and leading, for example, on biosocial, on the corporate side, but also on data collection and on policy level. But the fact that we are all together working on certain themes, it's amazing. And I can't believe that we are now working side by side to, on this common agenda, on this common voice.
Yeah, that's incredible indeed. The level of collaboration and how many companies and organizations are involved is a really good collective effort. And for sure it will bring some good results. But how can we help Euclid Network here in The Hague? How can we help you doing your great job?
Well, there are a lot of ways to help. So for example, if you are a consumer, and if you look at the larger picture, right? In the future, we would love every enterprise to be a social enterprise or an impact enterprise or a purpose. And I think that we are moving in that direction. I think millennials, the generation that really, wants to work for a purpose-driven organization. So we'll get there. But in the meantime, it's important that social entrepreneurs have access to market. So if you buy social, be conscious of where your product is coming from or service. The other thing is that if you work in a corporate, that you also see that you provide contracts to impact entrepreneurs or buy from companies that have this social impact. For governments and impact investors, I would say make sure that social entrepreneurs get a seat at the table. So this is again very much on collaboration, on partnerships. Make sure that they are in the conversation and really speaking to each other, because a lot of times here in The Hague, they're talking about impact entrepreneurs, and it's really important that these impact entrepreneurs are being listened to and are being heard.
I read, I think, a statement on the website of Euclid Network that about 250 million euros in funds are actually not used every year. And I realized that this is a huge amount of money, and I was wondering why. And maybe you can give some tips or ideas how social entrepreneurs could make use of it, or how could they apply to use these funds.
It's a huge amount of money. And if you look at a global level, the European Commission really is contributing to social entrepreneurship. It's one of the most influential funders. The reason why it's not being accessed a lot is because I think that if you're a social enterprise, you need to look at what type of funding you are looking for to make sure that you get an investor that has the same goals as you have and not just is investing for money. Because then later on you can get a problem in your growth phase that the investor wants his money back or has different types of agendas. Yep. So what type of money are you looking for? What type of funding do you want?
So that person needs to understand what first of all, and then the next step is where to get that.
And then where to get it. And there's people who know more about that. So if for impact entrepreneurs here in Impact City, I would suggest, follow this really cool funding workshops that The Hague has. On another level, if you live somewhere else, really look at your local or national impact network to see if they can help you. But really identify what you are looking for first. It's not easy to access EU funding, but it is possible, and I think it's worth.
What is not easy about it? Why is it?
There's a lot of regulation, and also, again, you need to make sure that you are aligned with the strategy of the fund. So, is your impact really contributing to the impact that the European Commission is looking for?
Could you be more specific about what fund or several funds that you can recommend that you know for sure will be suitable for social entrepreneurs?
Yeah, if you look at funds that are non-EU funding, I would say keep an eye out for the DRK Foundation. They just landed in Europe a few months ago, and they really have a great goal. They doubled down on their funds also here, and so this is a great option. Also have a look out for Rabobank, for instance, or EVPA, the European Venture Philanthropy Association,
right,
which is also tightly knit to The Hague. They have a range of investors, and they can really help out with guiding you towards the right type of investors. So I would definitely advise those.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Thank you for that. And looking at everything what's happening in The Hague over the last few years, how would you see The Hague in 10 years?
What I would love for The Hague in 10 years is, I think currently they're really consciously investing in innovation, in tech, but also in social enterprise. So obviously coming from my side, I would really love to see that they have created more funds for social enterprises, but also more capacity building programs. And they could be in universities, in high schools, for instance, teaching younger kids, what the path of an entrepreneur, of an impact entrepreneur would look like, so that it becomes more of a term that they are accustomed with, and that they see this as a career path.
And what about you? Do you still have plans to go again abroad on another assignment and venture, or for now you see yourself making a change here in the Netherlands?
Well, look, Luba, I never had a plan. So my plan is always to look at, what the road brings me. I really am used to traveling the path, less obvious, and I'm not afraid to take that route. For now, I think I have everything in the challenge I have with our Impact Network. There's so much to be done, and there's so many more adventures to be had. I think doing that from the Netherlands is the best base camp that we can have. I'm working with a fantastic team that is supporting entrepreneurs in everything. They're really keen to represent impact entrepreneurs all over Europe, and they're very talented and ambitious. So I think we're good for now, but you never know. So that's what
So exactly. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I would describe myself as ambitious, quite optimistic, and sometimes gutsy.
Sometimes gutsy. Nice one. And what is the one thing that you will never do again?
The one thing I will never do again? Lots of things. But I will never again. My mom taught me to never regret. I think she taught me to just go ahead and do it, and not to look. Sometimes I look back in 5 years and see what you can adjust, but not to look back too many times. I always regret not having things done. So I don't regret doing things. And I had the opportunity to meet Richard Branson once. to do a campaign with him.
Wow.
And one of his quotes is, if there's a great opportunity that comes by, just say yes and figure out how to do it later. And that was also my motto. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming over here and talking
Thank you,
to
Luba.
me. It's really a pleasure and really inspiring to hear all your stories. I wish you a lot of success in your role, and I wish Euclid Network to grow and get bigger and mature and help the Hague city as well to become a very strong impact city.
Thank you, Luba. It was such a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.